United!
Ladies and gentlemen, it's finally it. The last of our predictions videos. It is the top 10 of the Premier League. Very quickly before we start, because I am so excited to talk to you about 10th place, please have a look below. We have a link to our Premier League predictions competition, £400 in prizes to be won. Please click join in, and as much as you comment and like, use that as well. We want to give you money. It's sponsored by Grandstand Bettors. They are a fantastic tipster website. They've backed us for the last 3 years. We really appreciate it, and they are fantastic at what they do. So if you are a betting man, woman, child, non-binary, whatever, please click on these guys' website. Also, we're an Amazon affiliate seller. Please look below. We'll have links to products. Even if you don't buy the product, but you're buying something from Amazon, click through that link. It helps out the channel immensely. All the money we get, we put back into the channel to make it a fantastic resource. And with that being said, Ian, who is in 10th in the Premier League for 2020-2021?
Manchester United!
Out! You're out!
Leeds United!
That's right, Leeds United. They won promotion last year in first place, and they have the insanely talented Marcelo Bielsa, the man that Lionel Messi says.
He's a cheat.
Yeah, he's a cheat. He's always watching other teams train. He's incredibly talented. They played a 4-1-4-1 last season, and they have gone big this year. They spent $26 million on Rodrigo from Valencia. They signed Robin Koch from Freiburg, who we both really enjoyed watching last season in the Bundesliga. Helder Costa's come in for $16 million from Wolves. Wolves, for some reason, selling players, not bringing new ones in. It's baffling. Patrick Bamford is still there, 16 goals last season. Pablo Hernandez had 9 goals and 9 assists. Jack Harrison, 6 goals and 8 assists. This looks like the strongest team coming up, hands down.
Absolutely. I cannot wait to see how Leeds go about this Premier League season. Obviously, we think they're going to do really well. I just think it's exciting times. It's exciting for all the Leeds fans when they do eventually be able to go back into Ellen Road. But just exciting times in general. It's really good to have them back in. The Premier League is stronger for having clubs like Leeds United in it. And I'm just looking forward to seeing them.
I'm really excited. They're a young squad as well. They've got really good players, and they haven't, for what I can see, massively overspent. They're not the club spending $150 million on 10 new players. They brought in a couple players they think will do well, but also Bielsa, the man's a perfectionist, and as much as, you know, he cheats to watch teams train, he sets his team up to beat the other side whilst playing to their Leeds' strengths, and I think he's the best man for the job. I think Leeds are going to have a good season, and I cannot wait for the first Leeds-Man United match.
9th place, we have Leicester City. Bit of a drop-off from where they were last season, where obviously they overachieved and nearly got in the Champions League, but ultimately finished 5th. Brendan Rodgers still there. Pretty solid in his formation, where he pretty much played 4-1-4-1 all the time. No real signings have come in. Ben Chilwell, big departure, although that was expected, wasn't it? He's gone to Chelsea. Tom, what are your thoughts on Leicester?
I think they're a really good club. I think that they massively overperformed. And when we look at the team, as much as it was a drop-off and you worry about Brendan Rodgers' ability to maintain a title push, especially when you look at what happened to his Liverpool side, this is a very different side. Like, at that Liverpool team, he had Sturridge, he had Suarez, he had Gerrard. The things he has here are Maddison, Vardy, and Chilwell, essentially. Jamie Vardy is a great player. He's continuing to get the goals, and he is going to slow down at some point, but I'm not backing him to do it. We both love James Maddison. We think he's an incredibly creative midfielder. I'd love to have seen him at Man United or at Chelsea, but they doesn't quite think he's at that level. But one player I really want to look at is Kaglar Sonyoku. He was fantastic. He was a really great player to bring in. He looks like a really cultured European center-back, the sort of player that can keep your defense solid for 5 or 10 years. And with him in front of Kasper Schmeichel, I do not envy teams coming up against them. Johnny Evans at centre back it's like a renaissance for him at this club. Ian Atcho is great coming off the bench to back up Jamie Vardy. Damari Gray is always a step away from being a world-class winger. One match he's unplayable, the next match he doesn't seem to be able to complete a pass. How this club has Yuri Tielemans is beyond me. Mark Albrighton still comes off the bench. The team is so talented.
It is, and you still haven't talked about players as like Harvey Barnes, who was excellent at times last season. But probably, like, just to go back to your point about Soyuncu when he wasn't in the side, when they had to bring Morgan in, you saw the drop-off in the side. And also, they lost Pereira for the back end of that season, who was arguably their best player.
Oh, he was right back of the year, wasn't he?
And, so you just saw like the fringe players weren't as good coming in, and that's what kind of ultimately cost them. Europa League as well, so you are going to have that Thursday, Sunday game, lots of games coming in a short space of time, which is going to be tough, which all culminates of why we've got them just finishing lower than what we had last season.
But they're a really good side. I actually really like Brendan Rodgers as a manager, so 9th place, but I still think it's going to be a good season. It's just more of a battling year for this club.
Good teeth.
In 8th, Ian.
In 8th place, we've got Wolverhampton Wanderers, Thomas. It's another...
All praise the spirit.
You go for it. Yep.
Sorry.
Yeah, well, absolutely. He deserves all the praise in the world because he continues to do a great job. Last season they were 7th, but it was a torturous campaign, like a never-ending campaign. I know you talk about lots of fixtures, but no side has ever played for as long of a season as Wolverhampton Wanderers. It went over a fucking year that they played. And it's not the biggest of squads. It's not a huge squad as well. I mean, he's very much like picks the same 11 for a lot of the season. So these sides, there's bound to be a drop-off in terms of a bit of a hangover from what they went through last season as well. Pretty solid with his formations, 3-4-3 or 3-5-2. Matt Doherty has gone to Tottenham, so that's a big departure for them without no real big signing coming in. Although he knows that they need to bring in players. He addressed it when they went out of the Europa League. He says, if we want to continue moving forward, we need to make investments. We need to bring players in. So I would expect Wolves to make some big signings. And I wouldn't expect too many of their first team to leave because, and I'm sure you're going to rattle off some players, it is a phenomenally talented team.
Look, let's just talk about this. Adama Traore and Raul Jimenez had the most successful forward partnership since Shearer and Sutton. They were literally unplayable. Adama Traore is, in my opinion, too good to be at Wolves, but the spirit keeps this team together, and they do so well. And he rotates his forward so well whilst allowing Jimenez to always be this focal point because he is a cold-blooded striker. I know he kind of failed in that final European match, but all season he was beastly. I think he had over 20 goals in the season. And then he's backed up by players like Diego Jota, Ruben Neves behind him. You've got Dendoncker, Podence in the midfield, Connor Cody at the back, Pedro Neto. And then you have the elder statesmen of Rui Patricio and João Moutinho, players who have European championships to their name, Champions League, stuff like this. They have these players of this ilk at this club, and that's what's allowed them to really grow. Because as much as they have young players and unproven players, they've got world-class talent and players that, they're at the end of their career, but who doesn't want João Moutinho bossing their midfield? Like, honestly.
Yeah, I'd just say they need to find, just hopefully they can find some more goals. They seem to struggle to score goals, especially in the back end of the season. But, a little bit of a drop-off. We've got them in 7th place.
I think the lack of European football is actually going to seriously help this.
Yeah, definitely. But that's Wolves.
That is Wolves. Move on. Right. It's time to talk about a club that I love to define as a dumpster fire. Not a raging dumpster fire, but a dumpster fire nonetheless. Ian, lead us in to the next club.
7th place is Everton. And we went back and forth on Everton. We weren't sure about it. You had them finishing a little bit lower because you love to rag on Everton a lot. I had them finishing higher, mainly because I have faith in Ancelotti. And then when you look at the players they're linked with, you can see that the board seem to have a lot of faith in Ancelotti as well. This might shock you, but Ancelotti played a bit of 4-4-2. I wonder if that was old bloody Silva who did that. And he plays a bit more of a 4-2-3-1. Nkunku's come in from Marseille, but they're linked with players like Romero, players like Rafinha, Kurt Zouma, and James Rodriguez.
I mean, the James Rodriguez link is fantastic. If they can bring him in, that's something that a bunch of Premier League clubs have tried to work out. It all comes down to finances. They brought in Napoli's Brazilian midfielder Allen, who was really good last year. They're being linked with Doucouré, who is probably one of the best players Watford have, and he could probably use playing in a better team. They've re-signed Will Keane on a 5-year deal. That Yerry Mina, as much as people love him because he played at Barca, he's not that player, but he's still really good. They have Jordan Pickford in goal, who is a total nut job, but he is a good shot stopper. They just need to keep the ball away from him as much as possible. Yannick Bolasie, the man that no one knows what's going to happen until it comes off his boot. Mason Holgate. Again, I just name players, don't I? Dominic Calvert-Lewin has taken a step up since he came in. He really did change his game, got in between the sticks, scoring goals. Richarlison, who I still think was overrated at the price he cost, but is really good. Andre Gomez. And it's Ancelotti. I mean, he is the football whisperer. He wins it everywhere he goes. And you just feel like there's talented players. And he made Alex Iwobi look good for a while last season. Like, you know, there are players in this squad that he's improving and making better. It's just, can they follow these players they're being linked with? Can they secure James Rodriguez? Can they bring in Doucouré? And then you just trust that someone like Ancelotti is able to integrate them into the squad, because that's what he does.
Yeah, I mean, you'd still think there's still got to be some rebuilding there, because you look at that team that played last season, there is still some dead wood, and I won't name them, but there is some dead wood that you would need to ship out of that side. But we do think there's good signs for Everton, and we see them improving a lot, and we have them in 7th place.
It's time to talk about the team that finishes just outside of Europe and therefore gets ragged on no matter how successful a year they have. And it's time to talk about Jose Mourinho, because we have Tottenham Hotspur in 6th. That's right, I'm not leading him in so you can talk about them. I am going to talk about the special one, the chosen one, the special one, the respected one, the almighty one, the all-powerful one, and the savant. He played a 4-2-3-1, and he totally destroyed Maurizio Pochettino's Tottenham side. This team played nothing like what Maurizio Pochettino left behind, and that is what has left Tottenham Hotspur fans angry. But I'm going to be honest with you. I think they signed him to win, and they don't care about the product, because Pochettino had the chance to win the league for 3 years and blew it routinely. And not only blew it, he dropped from like 2nd with 3 games left to 4th. They are no longer a Champions League team. Talent out the wazoo. Harry Kane is the best striker in the league. He might be one of the best strikers in the world. And behind him, Son Heung-min, heinous leg breaker that he is fantastic. They brought in Pierre-Emile Højbjerg to solidify the midfield. We saw Steven Bergwijn be absolutely phenomenal. Bergwijn, be absolutely phenomenal in spurts. Hugo Lloris also seems to have finally gotten the yips out that he had post-World Cup and seems to be back to being a good goalkeeper. And Eric Dyer, despite attacking fans, seems to have also kind of cleaned up his act. They've got Lamela coming off the bench. They've got Mora starting or coming off the bench. Ryan Sessegnon, one of the brightest young talents in England, still can't get a game for them. Harry Winks, God knows if he's playing or not. But an interesting thing he's done is bringing in Joe Hart. Ian, why has he brought in Joe Hart?
Well, he's brought Joe Hart in out of a nice... He's probably linked to, like, Joe Hart's charity. So, like, bringing him in, or, like, kind of mean Mourinho can get, like, a tax write-off or something from it. So, I got no idea. But I don't want to talk about Joe Hart, because he's not going to be anywhere near this first team.
I just want to quickly finish what I was going to say, because I don't know why I asked you a question when I want to say this. But what I really like is we know Jose Mourinho doesn't coach attackers. We know Jose Mourinho coaches defensive unit to defend and allows the attackers to do their job. And when he plays a 4-2-3-1, that allows all their attacking talent to have free reign going forward, while 6 players know their job, they hold their positions, and they make them really hard to beat. And for me, this is how you win a cup. It's having that solid defensive base with fluent attackers in front of it. And I think Spurs are going to have a good year. I think it's going to be a tough year because everyone in front of them's improved.
Yeah, again, this was putting Spurs in 6, and it's mainly when we came down to these positions, we didn't know where to put them, because I just don't know what we're going to see from them. I don't know what you're going to see from Mourinho, and you don't know how the Spurs players are going to react to it. So they could be great, or it could just all blow up and be terrible. And we've seen that from Jose in the past as well. I don't know if you mentioned Doherty coming in from Wolves, but he's a good player too. But I think you've pretty much summed it up. We know there's so much quality in this side, and he's a great manager and has been a great manager. So they could finish higher, but we have them in 6th.
Ian, I know you love them, so talk about 5th place for me.
Yeah, I won't make you put tape on your mouth for this one like you made me do for Oxford United, but yeah, we've got Arsenal in 5th, finishing. Last season they finished 8th, but they did finish a lot stronger under Mikel Arteta than they started it with. I can't even remember his name now.
Unai Emery.
Unai Emery, thank you very much. I think we were both sort of flip-flopping about where we were going to put Arsenal and Spurs, to be honest. And it's a toss of a coin over who finishes 6th or 5th in our minds out of those ones. Arteta has done a really good job. He ended up winning the FA Cup and they won the Community Shield. Not that that really matters. The other weekend against Liverpool, but just it's not so much. It is the tactics, but it's more of like the kind of mentality that he seems to have brought in, that the Arsenal players are actually listening to, as opposed to what Unai Emery tried to do, which I don't think was necessarily bad, but it just seemed clear that the players just weren't interested in having him as the manager. Whereas Arteta, they seem to actually want to adopt his tactics. And like little things you said to me, like how he dealt with Guendouzi after the Brighton game, was like kind of, no, we don't do that anymore. We're going to be like this. And it seems like that mentality has spilt over to the players. And they look a completely different side to what they did a year ago. The biggest thing, they have signed players. They have signed a centre-back. He's an unknown guy in from Flamenco, spent 7 million. Cedric Suarez, who was there last season, has come in from Southampton. And they've signed Willian, Tom, another Chelsea has-been.
That sounds like Arsenal to a T. As much as I rag on Arsenal, I think that Mikel Arteta has brought responsibility to this team, and he's basically saying, there is no excuse for you not winning. I'm sick of hearing you make excuses for not winning. We are Arsenal, we win football matches, and that's that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, other than Ozil, who remains like the elephant in the room there, you've seen that in the likes of Xhaka. You've seen that in the likes of even like David Luiz, I would say. And even like the guy who's come in, like Martinez, who was the sub-keeper, now looks very established as the number one.
I thought he was fantastic to end last year. I mean, Arsenal fans, I know you guys hate me. I'm pretty sure you guys rule the downvotes when I make fun of you guys. But Martinez was, I thought he looked better than Leno.
And you know, I do wonder sometimes though if they've gone a little bit like how Man United played against the top sides under Ollie, like very, very good tactically now against the top sides, and they've got a good game plan, but might struggle with the sides who are just going to sit back and not let them play counter-attack and get in behind them so easily. But they have got amazing players going forward and exciting.
They've got Aubameyang.
Yeah, and signing him is a massive.
Well, that's make or break. If they don't re-sign him, this club literally falls back into a spiral. But with him leading the line, especially at 31 now, he's not 20 years old. He's not going to Real Madrid tomorrow. It's time for both him and the club to make a covenant that we're going to lead Arsenal to the promised ground. We're getting him back in the Champions League. Yeah,
and you're putting that in with a lot of exciting young players that they do have that look like they wanted to be there and embracing it last season. So yeah, good times for Arsenal. It's going to be exciting to see how they go. And it's just nice to see like an Arsenal side that looks got a little bit more steel about them than like they used to have back when I used to like them in like the 90s and stuff.
I'm excited to see a positive mental outlook for this Arsenal side. I'm not excited to watch it, but I'm excited that they finally have that, because to me, Arsenal being successful is good for the Premier League. Wow. And it's good for their rivalries.
You heard it here first, folks. You heard it
done with
here
this.
First.
Ian, lead us into the next team. Lead us in.
Okay, so we go into the top 4 of the Premier League, and we have the team finishing in 4th place.
Manchester United! Yeah, that's right. I'm celebrating a 4th place finish. That's where we are as a football club. Man United ended last season fantastically. They were probably the form team in the league. Their forward 3 of Rashford, Martial, and Greenwood scored more goals than Liverpool's forward 3, City's forward 3, anyone else's. They were fantastic. And the finding of Mason Greenwood and the signing of Bruno Fernandes has turned this club around. Bruno Fernandes has allowed Paul Pogba to play football again and no longer be the great hope of the club. Mason Greenwood has proven that he's a top-class talent that's come out of nowhere. And Greenwood and Rashford finally is no longer the out-and-out striker. He's playing off Martial. Martial is finally the striker he wants to be. And Man United's starting 11 is absolutely fantastic. Harry Maguire withstanding. De Gea has question marks over him, but I don't see how your player of the last decade is not your starting goalkeeper to at least begin the year. There are questions outside of this starting 11, though. Brandon Williams is definitely coming in. He definitely looks like a better defender than Luke Shaw, but Daniel James doesn't look good enough to be at this club. And outside of the starting 11, you start asking questions. Ollie clearly doesn't trust Timothy Fosu-Mensah. He clearly doesn't trust Eric Bailly. He tried to get rid of Nemanja Vidic, and then Vidic became a key player for him. Aaron Wan-Bissaka seems to alternate wildly between good defender and good attacker, but never both at the same time. He doesn't trust Juan Mata enough, despite everyone thinking the guy can play a pass. Trusts Fred almost too much. Scott McTominay disappeared at the end of last season, and you're sat there going, this is the guy you want in a cup match. This is the guy, take no prisoners, bleeds Man United, and he's not there. I really like Lindelof, but Phil Jones is still at the club, and questions have to be asked about how that's happened. Solskjaer seems set that Andres Pereira is a good player, but we literally never see it. Axel Tuanzebe, Diego Dalot, the list goes on of players that you're just like, at this level club, if you want to take the jump from third or fourth to first place, you got to get rid of half of them, and you've got to improve the team. Questions still needs to be asked of Ed Woodward. Why is there no director of football? But the starting 11 at Man United can challenge the starting 11 of Liverpool and City. They're just not possibly going to be able to do it all season. And we're going to talk about it in the team that are above them, that we have above them. But the team above them have addressed squad issues. Man United haven't. Donny van de Beek, a £40 million signing from Ajax is a great start. But United need 3 or 4 signings and 5 or 6 players to leave before I think I can even back them for getting to within 15 of first place, 15 points of first place.
I have nothing else to add. So Man United in 4th. We're moving in to 3rd place.
Place is Chelsea.
Yep, so Manchester United and Chelsea, we've just got them flip-flopping in positions from where they were last season, and mainly that's due to the players that Chelsea have brought in. Frank Lampard did a great job last season, considering, if you think back, that we took a lot of shit for putting Chelsea in a Champions League spot. People thought we were nuts for doing that, and he did a really good job. People thought they would be nowhere near Champions League spot, and he proved them all wrong. They were very inconsistent, though, and as you've already addressed, they have taken great strides to improve the squad. He liked to play a lot of 4-3-3 last season, so we will see if he carries on with that. But I guess we just start kind of rattling off the players that have come in. Hakan Ziyech from Ajax, 33 million. Thiago Silva, you're on the fence about it, I know, but he is a good, experienced defender.
Yeah.
Xavi Mumbuea from Barcelona. And the biggest one, who I think is going to be exceptionally good this season, is Tino Werner from RB Leipzig, who, regardless of what they signed him for, was an absolute freaking steal. On top of that, they have signed Ben Chilwell and Malang Sarr, and they might be getting in Havertz, who seems like it's only a matter of time before he signs for Chelsea.
We'll talk about this in the Bundesliga one, but I don't even know where Havertz fits into the side anymore. Like, you don't sign Hakim Ziyech for 33 million and then sign Havertz for whatever is going to be 70 or 80 million. Like, which of them plays? You've still got Pulisic, you've still got Tammy Abraham. Am I allowed to rant for a second?
Of course.
Right, okay. Forward-wise, this team is absolutely unplayable. They are going to have such a fluid attack. It's going to be hard for Werner, Pulisic, Ziyech, Callum Hudson-Odoi, Tammy Abraham, Jorginho, Pedro, Giroud, Ruben Loftus. Like, the list is so long of their attacking talents, and their midfield is awesome. Mason Mount was one of my favorite players last year. Jorginho, we know he can pass the ball. N'Golo Kante is the best center defensive midfielder in the world, bar none. My question is, they were bad defensively last year, so they brought in Ben Chilwell, an attacking left back who has deficiencies at defending, and Thiago Silva, the player that was supposed to hold Brazil together, that lost 7-1 to Germany, and then just got battered by Bayern Munich. Like, I don't see... Thiago Silva's a fantastic...
They lost 1-0.
They're a fantastic ball playing... I'm talking about Chelsea getting battered by Bayern, sorry.
Oh,
but
sorry. I thought you were talking about
PSG.
Yeah.
He is a fantastic ball playing centre back, and I really like this Chelsea side. I just think they need a centre back that when someone makes a mistake is going to be like Fernandes was to Lindelof when he let that goal go in the European Cup. He's going to grab them by the scruff of the neck and start screaming at them to make them know that that's not good enough at this club. Because
so essentially you're saying John Terry, basically.
John Terry, freaking Van Dijk, Ake, or what they want him to be at Man City. Like, you need a player that is so good defensively that if someone gets past him, he's just going to take him down. You need a Vidic. You need someone... Yes, you need Rob Dickey. I just think that Frank Lampard's biggest weakness is his defense. And I think they need another center back. I know Malang Sarr's come in, he's leaving. I just think they need a defender, not anything else outside of just a dude that is like a brick wall when you run at him. Like a guy that everyone is going to try and run around instead of run through.
So, I mean, but problems with what you've addressed with the squad aside, we still think this is a side that is going to make improvements to finish third. We're just talking about them closing the gap towards winning a title. It's still going to be an excellent season for Chelsea, but unsurprisingly, they're not going to be the top two sides. And but let's just reveal who we have in second place.
We have Liverpool in second place.
Well, yes, they've already lost their grip on the Community Shield, Tom, and surely it's only a matter of time. But yeah, and again, you know, obviously this means we've got Manchester City finishing first, spoilers, but it is a bit of a toss of a coin between these two. I mean, you could make a successful argument for saying Liverpool are going to win the league again. I mean, they won the league a freaking canter last time out. They were miles ahead of Manchester City and everybody else in the league, it is going to go some to see that drop off in points. But I think what we're basing this off is Man City improving a lot, and Liverpool just kind of having a drop off after achieving the goal of winning the league for the first time in 30 years.
Liverpool scored 85 goals last season and conceded 33. Man City scored 102 goals last season and conceded 35. And yet all we do is talk about how terrible Man City were defensively and how great Liverpool were defensively. It's a difference of 2 bloody goals. It was just at the worst possible moments. City would go out and win 4-0, 5-0, and then they'd lose 2-0 in the next match. Whereas Liverpool would draw 2-2. And this is where the difference...
Let's say they've still got the basis of this championship winning squad then. They've still got...
Without a shadow of a doubt. But I think that teams are going to approach Liverpool differently. I think that to expect Sadio Mane and Mohamed Salah to still produce the amount of goals they have to behind a striker, Roberto Firmino, who's better at holding up the ball than providing goals, is going to be tough. I think they have a fantastic squad. I think they're one of the best teams in England. This is not me bashing Liverpool. It's me trying to decide, should Liverpool be first or Liverpool be second? Trent Alexander-Arnold, Andrew Robertson as wingbacks are so good. Alisson Becker is fantastic in goal. If Jordan Henderson can play for 20 to 25 games a season, they're lucky right now. He's fantastic, but he can't stay fit. Their midfield is stacked. They've got Naby Keita, Giorgio Wijnaldum, Shaqiri's coming off the bench, James Milner is still there, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. The goals are what I worry about. I worry they won't score as many goals. I worry they won't be as fluid going forward as they were. And like we said for other teams, I think teams are going to approach Liverpool in a totally different way. Why did people play a high line against Mo Salah and Sadio Mane? The amount of times they got to run in behind defenses. You're like, you see it in the All or Nothing documentary with Man City when he's like, all they do is run in behind. All they do is try and play a ball to Salah or Mane running in like this. And I just think teams will approach them differently. They haven't done a huge amount to refresh the squad, and we talked about this off air. They haven't brought in a bunch of players to challenge. And I think that's one of the things United always did well under Ferguson. They always brought in a marquee signing every year, a Berbatov or someone, just to be like, none of you are safe, and we can rotate. I don't know who Liverpool rotate to score. They're not being linked with anyone, and Jurgen Klopp doesn't seem that interested. And the stories coming out on why Liverpool didn't sign Timo Werner worry me. That Jurgen Klopp would have a meeting with one of the best strikers in Europe and categorically state, you're not starting and you won't start until Christmas when Mane goes to the African Cup of Nations, and then we'll give you a chance. To me, it's just going, we don't want you. And he's gone to Chelsea. I think we both see him being a great success at Chelsea. And if he'd signed at Liverpool, I think Liverpool would be my pick to win the league again.
There we go. So we've gone for Liverpool in second place, and you know, just to say the old cliche as well, it is hard to retain the Premier League.
It is so hard.
History shows you that not many sides retain it, and it is going to be that whole thing of just being the champions. It is going to cause a little bit of a drop off just because of it was such a monumental victory for the first time in 30 years, Liverpool actually winning a league, and it's such a short turnaround from that happening to this happening. They haven't had the whole off season to kind of chill, get over it and come back again. But enough about Liverpool. It leaves one club. We know who it is. For the third season in a row, for very biased opinions, we've gone for Manchester City winning the league.
Yes, Pep Guardiola-led Man City came second last year. I've already reeled off the stats. 102 goals scored. I believe they were the top domestic scorers in Europe last year. They play a really expansive 4-3-3. Silva has gone to Real Sociedad. They say that they're replacing him with Foden, but then they signed Ferran Torres for 20 million, and I feel that's probably what they're doing. Sane's gone to Bayern for 54. But it seems like Pep thinks he's solved his defensive problems by signing Nathan Ake for a fee that could rise to £41 million. This is, like Liverpool, a supremely talented team that if they're in the Champions League, I'm probably just going to reel off their best players in order and be like, what do you expect? They're going to win. I think that they are a very good side, and I think that they're just going to edge it this season. I don't see why Pep wouldn't go into this year furious with how they played last year. They've instantly signed a center back. They're being linked with every other center back in Europe, but a lot of the center backs they're being linked with, like Koulibaly, have questionable passing skills. And it seems like in the last couple of years, they've signed athletes to defend instead of Pep Guardiola-style players. And I think that they're going to wait because we know Ake can play the ball well. Mm-hmm. We know that as bad as Bournemouth was, you almost never criticized Ake's contribution, and you saw it when Man United almost openly courted him after the Bournemouth game, with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer dragging him off the pitch and whispering in his ear. We know he's a great player, and I can't see a Pep Guardiola side not playing better this year. I can't, and they've strengthened in areas where they should strengthen. And in Phil Foden, if they allow him to play, they could have a generational talent. And I think it's time, and I think he has to know it's time to put Phil Foden next to Kevin De Bruyne, flanking Sergio Aguero, Gabriel Jesus, and just let the magic happen.
Well, you've pretty much summed it up. The only things I'm going to say is things that annoy me about Man City is just they seem to have this tendency to just want to walk the ball into the net, which works for them probably most of the times. But they did seem to get like a lot of bad luck. They seem to hit these like games where sides would go 1-0 up against them. They'd have like 50 shots. The side would have one, the side would score, and then inexplicably City just couldn't get a goal back. And that happened time and time again.
Oh my God.
And he even saw it like a little bit against Lyon in that Champions League quarter-final as well, although that was probably a game where they weren't that good. So everything felt last season as if it was geared towards Liverpool, both kind of on the pitch and kind of like the way the rub of the green fell as well. And I just, as you said, I just don't see City being not as bad, but also as unlucky as they were at times last season. And that is one of the main reasons why I think we both got Man City winning the league again. Finally, we've wrapped up our predictions for the top 4 leagues in England. God, it seems like a lot we've got through in a short space of time. But as always, let us know what you think. Let us know the comments down below. We really are interested in your comments. You're bound to not agree with most of what we said because we're probably only going to get about half of this right. But we really want to know either way. And also, please give this video a like. It helps us out so much. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. We're just going to quickly remind you about the competition we're running with Grandstand Bettors once again before we finally sign off.
So we've got a competition with Grandstand Bettors with £400 to be won. Please sign up. All you need is your email. You can even click to not receive any promotional emails from us. And then every week you just put in your Premier League predictions. The winner, the person leading on weeks 10, 20, and 30 gets £50. And the winner at the end of week 38, so the culmination of the entire Premier League, will get £250. This is all thanks to the lovely people at Grandstand Bettors and Matt Uranka, the hero that runs that place. They back us. We're backing them. This is a great competition, which me and Ian will be part of. So you will be competing against us. And Ian's terrible, so it's free money. With that being said, we're an Amazon affiliate. Please look below. If you're going to buy something from Amazon, please at least click the link below. We get a small bit and we get to put that back into this. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for liking. We will be back in 2 to 3 days with our predictions to the first round of the Premier League. And honestly, this is going to sound silly, but I love all of you and thank you for being here.